Well, Maria, just in the last few minutes, police here in Ottawa have been handing out these flyers to the demonstrators that basically says, well, you got to leave now or you might be arrested. And the police have also expanded what they call the no-go zone. A lot of people really came down here on bikes and on foot. They came sprinting down here because they wanted to be a part of this moment. They wanted to say, hey, I was here in downtown Philadelphia when the votes came in here in Pennsylvania that put Joe Biden over the top.
What are we seeing there?
Kalev, this is some of the damage from last week's rioting and the fires that took place. In some cases, entire blocks, as you can see here, were destroyed by the fires. The good news is the last couple of nights here in Minneapolis have been far more quiet. But we did start to see people ascending the Capitol up to the upper level where the windows are once they had breached the perimeter the police set forth for them. There was pepper spray used on the demonstrators as they breached that.
Tell us a little bit more about how this funeral is going to take place.
Isabel, the most important attendant of all, just arrived. George Floyd himself arrived in the casket. You can see back there the hearse just pulled up. And this is a private funeral for George Floyd, but it certainly doesn't feel that way. It'll be live streamed across the world, and as you can see here, there's media from all over the world that have shown up as well. Not that we're aware of here, David. It's all quiet right now. Of course, it's about 6 o'clock in the morning. The mayor of D.C. told the whole nation, do not come here for this inauguration because of all the security. This is as close as anybody can get. And also, the traffic is terrible here. All the streets, many of the streets are shut down around the Capitol. They're leaving all kinds of things here. And, you know, even though all of these kind of look the same, all the flowers, there's a teddy bear there, the posters, the balloons, and each of these candles, they really do tell a story. Each one tells a story of the individual who thought enough to come up here today and last night to leave this. And that's the message that you're getting from a lot of people here. There's a DJ out here right now, out here at City Hall, and right next to me is Bill Dalton. You are a Biden supporter. You know, you're a big guy. You've got your pit bull here right next to us, but I see you tearing up. Why? Another noisy night of protesting here in Louisville, Kentucky, after that decision from the grand jury regarding Breonna Taylor. As you can see, there's been smoke set off here as these marchers march down the streets. Earlier, they marched along the city's riverfront here in Louisville, which is a highly popular tourist destination throughout the year, hundreds of them.
And I should be able to walk and do what I do without having to worry about the police trying to kill me every time I walk out the house.
Do you look at Breonna and think, you know, that could have been me?
Of course. I think it could be anybody, for real.
Now, these protests tonight have been mainly peaceful. There have been some blocking of traffic, but earlier there was a very tense confrontation between these protesters and members of a white armed militia group called the Oath Keepers, who they say were brought in to protect property. But there's a tense standoff as the two sides went nose to nose with each other. These were armed white militiamen. But in the end, the two sides broke up with no shots fired. What do you think of all this and the confrontation here?
People have the right to protest, you know, keep it peaceful, we'll keep it peaceful, and we're all good.
Now, in the meantime, we should note that the FBI is still investigating this case here in America and still yet might file charges against those officers, including civil rights charges in the Breonna Taylor case. In the meantime, these marches and protests continue on, although it is mainly peaceful for the night. We'll keep watching here in Louisville, Kentucky for Euronews. Philadelphia is waking up to one heck of a hangover today after yesterday's win by Joe Biden in the presidential election. It was like an all-day, all-night rave out here outside historic City Hall. People poured into the streets. They were cheering and singing, and they were dancing. Philadelphia is the home of the Declaration of Independence, signed in 1776, and these folks are keenly aware of that. And they wanted to be out here on the streets to say that they were here when Pennsylvania put Joe Biden over the top in the presidential race. Now, there were some Donald Trump supporters out here, a handful of them, still at the building where they're counting votes right now, but they mainly kept to themselves. And afterwards, I asked some Trump supporters and some Biden supporters, what happens now?
Myself being somebody further left than Joe Biden, I need to push harder on dealing with the police. Disarming the police is something I like. Abolishing ICE. I like him to deal with homelessness on a much better level instead of just letting people be without homes in this country, let them be fed.
I mean, what do Trump supporters do?
Reorganize. The left's been doing for the last 4 years.
What's that?
The same thing the left has been doing for 4 years.
Which is?
Mayhem.
We're going to show up wherever Biden shows up, not our president.
That's what the mantra is going to be here.
Oh, yeah, not our president.
The Trump campaign had a team of lawyers here in Philadelphia on Saturday, led by former New York City Mayor Rudy Giuliani. They're promising fresh litigation starting on Monday regarding hundreds of thousands of votes that were cast here in Philadelphia. But for the moment, it's a pretty safe bet that this horse that has guarded City Hall here for 2 centuries has never seen anything quite like this. Andy Roshan in Philadelphia for Euronews.
You must leave. You will be arrested.
A step-by-step, methodical march of thousands of officers is bringing a slow, mostly peaceful wind down to the protest that has occupied Canada's capital. Truck drivers and other protesters screamed at police or pleaded with them to join the protests.
We're just sending you love. That's what we're doing.
Ottawa police accused some protesters of assaulting them or even trying to grab their weapons. But whether on foot or on horseback, the police line did not stop. Each trucker had to decide whether to walk away from their vehicle or stay with it. A few who stayed got forcibly removed and arrested, and their vehicles were towed.
Are you prepared to be arrested?
I'm not sure yet. Our leaders are making that decision for us.
She chose to leave.
We had a right to peaceful assembly.
One man who said he was speaking on behalf of the convoy's leaders said truckers were prepared to move their vehicles away from the downtown.
The best course of action is to comply, to leave the site with honor, and at this moment, that's what we're going to do. This is not the end.
But others remain defiant.
I don't want to be arrested, but I figure if these truckers, I don't think they can arrest us. What are they arresting us for?
3 leaders of the convoy have been arrested so far and charged with criminal mischief and obstruction. The goal for police is to clear the people out first and then the trucks, and that could take days.
If you're a part of the protest, it's a dark day, you feel that the government's infringed on your rights, but if you're somebody that wants the protest to end, you want it to do so peacefully.
And as night falls and the temperature plummets to -18 in Ottawa and truckers huddle by fires, the question is, how much longer will they hold out as their numbers wane? Andy Roshan, TRT World, Ottawa, Canada.